Right.
All right, last question.
Hmm.
Lessons from NFL Europe that can inform future expansion. So it's kind of a deep
Whew.
question, but give me your thoughts on that from your personal experience, from what you think's going on as far as the NFL and what they're going to do in the future.
So we were able to, I felt like, really make deep connections with the local crowd in Frankfurt. Um, they wanted us there. We wanted to be there.
Mm-hmm.
It felt that way. That was a huge difference between 98 and 99. And I say all this, and we did not have Instagram. We did not have YouTube. We didn't have podcast. You start adding those tools, you put a team in Europe where people can say, this is our, yes, they're Americans, but this is our team. That's the way I felt. It's like, yes, we're Americans here playing in Germany, but the Galaxy fans anyway, they were fans of the local team.
Yeah.
So if for whatever reason, hypothetically speaking, if the NFL put a franchise in a city like Germany, there's no question in my mind that the fans would take ownership of the team and support the team
Yeah.
um, through ticket sales. They're a very loyal group. There's fans that were German fans that are now Facebook friends of mine that often comment and compliment and wish me happy birthday, and that's 25 years
I
ago
know,
in a
man.
league that didn't mean anything.
Yeah. They're very loyal.
I don't, yeah, very, I don't know what it is about their culture that makes them that way, or maybe it's just the town, but it's a really cool experience. But then, like I said, you add in social media, and you kind of just need one star, a quarterback, a wide receiver, and if the football gods would bless you with one good player from that country, and they're playing on that team, Werner Hippler,
But that's
you
Werner
know,
Hippler. Like we had some
yeah,
guys, we had some German players on our team. Now listen, as an NFL Europe insider, as a coach, they would load teams up with better players because they wanted that
mhm,
team to win the World Bowl. I mean, at least they wanted, so Frankfurt was always at that top of the echelon of the players because
yeah,
Frankfurt was their flagship team, at least as far as the fans were concerned. So they always gave Frankfurt a competitive team. So that's also why it was good to be part of that team. But also too, like when it comes to the international footprint the NFL's trying to do, having a national player from the country playing in the league, you know how popular that guy. He'll be the number one person in the whole country.
yeah.
But how do you logistically have a team in Germany? I mean, language, the laws, the taxes. There's a whole lot of stuff that I don't know. So listen, we got to bring
Time zone
we
changes.
yeah,
Yeah.
fly. I mean, we gotta bring somebody on the podcast, or I gotta bring somebody on the podcast that can speak to that because
Yeah.
there's lots of people. Go ahead.
I mean, but the NFL's playing enough games in Europe, 5, 6 hour time zone that to me it's and the original World League, there were teams in the States too.
Yeah,
So
they would go Sacramento, Barcelona,
yeah,
Frankfurt,
they they,
London,
they made it work. Yeah.
San Antonio. I mean, they were a real true world league, and they were flying around.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm not a little bit, but I'm not that guy. They got smart people in the NFL that can figure that out. But to me,
Hmm.
just give them a bye week after the international travel, something
Yeah.
like that. Like just
Yeah,
kind of
dude.
like do it that way.
Yeah, come to the German team comes to the States, plays 3, 4 games,
Yeah, go back.
go back, bye week,
Yep, play a
3 or 4 games
game.
at home.
Exactly. Yeah,
You
they
know,
can figure it out. Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
make sure. And I mean, it won't be long before we have that trip across the Atlantic is only be 3 hours. We've done it before. We had the Concorde. Concorde's 50 years old.
I, I, I
They're going to come up with better planes.
I read an article the other day. There's a company that's trying to not bring the Concorde back, but they're space anyway. This tangent. Their space
Hmm.
travel, well, not space travel. They're gonna be flying across the Atlantic in like 2, 3 hours, man. On some
Yeah,
ridiculous
yeah,
stuff. Like
yeah.
some
So
scary.
once you get into that, really, when it's 4 or 5 or less hours, it's the same as New York flying to San Francisco. It's the same
Yeah.
as the Rams flying to play the Bucks. It's the same
Hmm.
trip.
Well,
You know.
this podcast is quite futuristic. So we could actually think in those terms a little bit, like, because I want to go as far out as possible as understanding it, because I want to be right about the NFL eventually putting a team across the water. Now, with the way the
Yeah.
world is and war and stuff like that, it adds another element that may not be attractive. But to me, that's pretty far off. We'll see. Who knows? But I really do think that the NFL is pulled the plug on NFL Europe and then began their international journey as far as planting the seeds, and that was 2007.
Yeah. I guess, and I'm very biased. I just why not do even if it as long as it's not too much of a loss, why not have a German league? Number one, just to develop players. You know, somebody more sophisticated. I also think the NFL needs to offer an alternative. This is could be a whole podcast in itself. We are now in the era of NIL in college football, which now makes college football players professionals. But there's always that caveat of, the kid has to qualify academically. The kid has to, be a student. The kid has to be on campus. What about the kid that's just good in high school? He wants to play football. Send him to Europe,
Well, they
and
do
let him
have a
play in
league
the
over there.
NFL Europe to win.
So they
I
so
mean,
go ahead.
and run by the NFL though. Um,
Well, okay, okay. So I'm glad you asked that question about
mhm.
they have what they call the European Football League. A guy I used to work with, Patrick Asumi. He's like Mr. Football in the whole country of Germany. He does NFL stuff. Like he's connected. I feel, I think that the NFL is supporting him now. Whether they're doing it financially or not, I don't know. But I do think that they're laying the foundation for, obviously, for fans. That's a huge engagement, understanding the game better, to have an understanding of the rules and all that stuff. And maybe they're kind of, funding it or whatever they're doing. But I do think that they're doing like this three-pronged approach, which is having a quality league. Now, the question is, like you said, is that league more so what they're going for rather than having a German team or having an NFL team in Germany, where you
Yeah,
can bring the fans over, lay the foundation of football. They'll still buy merchandise from Germany, won't they?
yeah.
Right.
And you can still have 2, 3 NFL games a year,
Correct.
that the German fans can count on, seeing their favorite players.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
now you have maybe you have a franchise in London, but then you have this German kind of, hey, we're going to play here a whole bunch. Y'all can trust us.
Yes. And to me, what I'm trying to supplement in Germany is in America, we get to know these players at the college level. Somebody wins the Heisman or they're a really good receiver for a big time program. So we start our relationship with these kids when they're in college. We follow them to the draft and they get drafted. You can't go to German universities and say like, "Hey, you need to start a football program, and you're going to be
Yeah.
competing with Alabama in 5 years or whatever." So it's like, how can you create almost like a parallel league of young players, um, and some way somehow that they get the fans in Europe and even in America get some experience with these players. And I can't believe I'm saying this right now, but it's almost the Coach Prime Colorado experience. Like we can talk about all the accolades and things like that, but it took a you know uh, an NFL Hall of Famer, somebody who had a brand of his own, his son Travis Hunter, a couple other players, and now everybody's focused on them. It's like I'm reaching here, but it's almost like NFL or someone create this pseudo league in Europe, and then have a team or a player, a couple players over there that are really good that people can kind of start dialing in, like, hey, what's going on over here? I don't know if that's the greatest
Well,
example or
okay, but
not, but
listen. So now you're bringing me to another point. The UFL, the
mhm,
XFL merger, like all that. Now the United Football League, bro. It's the same exact model as NFL Europe.
mhm,
It's just over here. Now, why they couldn't figure that out in the last 20 years with all these leagues that kind of came and went, I don't know why they couldn't figure that out. Why would anybody compete against the NFL? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
right,
But a spring league, and the reason why I know it's the same model is here's why. Back then we didn't have social media, so we weren't getting the love back then to get, but now they're on social media saying, hey, this guy from the whatever Renegades team signed this contract with Seattle Seahawks.
yep.
So they are embracing the reality that they are second tier, but that they're going to kind of make their own league in their own. And ultimately, wouldn't it be great to have an NFL versus somebody else? That'd be dope. But maybe I'm
That'd be cool, yeah.
optimistic.
No, 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 that'd be yeah, best of the best kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, listen, hey, like and subscribe. This is the Peanuts and Eagles podcast. Harold Gregg, best friend, lifetime teammate, lifetime brother and all kinds of stuff. Thank you for joining me, brother. Appreciate your
Yeah,
knowledge
love you, man.
and we'll talk soon.
All right, deuces.